she trained over 300 women teachers who walked and rode camels across the Sahara to bring lessons to villages with no schools.
In the early 19th century, the Sahara was not just a desert of sand, it was a vast corridor of kingdoms, trade routes, and isolated villages where formal schooling for women was virtually unknown. Into this landscape stepped Nana Asma'u, daughter of the Sokoto Caliph Othman Dan Fodio, born in 1793 in the city of Degel. From childhood, she was immersed in a household where scholarship was a daily practice. Her father was a renowned Islamic reformer, her mother a learned woman, and her brothers would become influential judges and administrators. By her teenage years, she had mastered Arabic, Fulfulde, and Hausa, and she began composing poetry that blended theological insight with practical guidance for daily life. But the Sokoto Caliphate, though expansive, faced a pressing challenge: how to spread the reformist ideals of the jihad to women living in remote hamlets where male scholars rarely ventured. Nana Asma'u saw the gap and decided to fill it herself. Around 1830, she initiated a program to train women as teachers, calling them jajis, those who travel. She selected bright, pious women from the Caliphate's towns, taught them core texts in Arabic and the vernacular languages, and equipped them with poetic mnemonics that made complex ideas easy to remember and transmit. The training was rigorous. Trainees memorized her own works, such as Wakar Giwaye, The Way of Paradise, studied arithmetic for trade and inheritance, and learned how to lead communal prayer and council. What emerged was not a single school, but a moving college.
The jajis set out on foot or with camel caravans, covering routes that stretched from the northern fringes of the Caliphate near the Sahara's edge to the southern savannah villages. They carried leather satchels holding slate boards, ink, and copies of Nana Asma'u's verses. In each stop, they gathered women in courtyards or under trees, recited lessons, answered questions, and left behind newly trained local teachers who would continue the cycle. Historical accounts from the Sokoto archives note that by the mid-1840s, over 300 jajis had been commissioned, and their circuits had reached places as far as Kano, Zaria, and the Borno frontier. A crucial reveal moment came when Nana Asma'u herself began to write in Hausa using the Ajami script, a modified Arabic alphabet, to make her teachings accessible to those who could not read classical Arabic. Her poem Na-i Wakilta, The Way of Virtue, became a staple of the Jaji's repertoire, its rhythmic verses allowing even semi-literate women to internalize lessons on faith, ethics, and household management. This linguistic innovation was a deliberate act of inclusion, reflecting her belief that knowledge should not be locked behind a language barrier. The turning point in her story arrived not with a battle, but with a loss: the death of her father in 1817 and the subsequent political shifts that saw her brother Muhammad Bello assume the caliphate. Though she never held political office, Nana Asma'u's influence grew within the court.
She corresponded with scholars across North Africa, advised on legal matters concerning women, and her library became a reference point for visiting dignitaries. Yet, her true legacy was measured not in palace halls, but in the dusty paths of the Sahara, where each jaji carried a fragment of her vision. When Nana Asma'u passed away in 1864, the Yantaru network did not collapse. The jajis continued their circuits, training new generations of women teachers well into the colonial era. British administrators in northern Nigeria noted in the early 1900s the existence of female wandering teachers who taught reading and arithmetic in villages, testimony to the endurance of her model. Today, scholars cite her as one of pre-colonial Africa's largest coordinated female-led educational initiatives, a fact preserved in her own writings, the Sokoto Chronicles, and the oral histories of the Jaji's descendants. Her story answers the question raised at the start: a princess who turned her scholarly privilege into a mobile college, walking thousands of miles with her students to ensure that no woman in the Sokoto Caliphate would be left without access to learning. The desert did not silence her voice, it amplified it, carried on the footsteps of 300 women who turned sand into classrooms.
Her 300 jajis carried knowledge across the desert, proving that a princess's vision could outlast empires and still echo in today's classrooms.